in order to get people who love you, you got to get people who hate you, right? You need to be polarizing in some way rather than just in the nice, safe middle. The problem with the nice, safe middle is that people never really liked me for me. They liked me as a reflection of them. To me, for a long time, that was safe, but that's what I want to step out of. Hello there, I'm your host, Tiffany Gilliland, an Australian business and mindset coach with 10 years' experience in online marketing and the creator of the Business Bravery Framework. I help coaches to be brave so you can sign more clients even if you hate marketing and sales feel icky. From signing your next paying clients through to launching that dream group coaching program, the Business Bravery Framework helps you take bigger leaps without the mindset spirals. It's helped my clients double their investment in me, make thousands of dollars, and truly build their dream business. In this episode, I'm getting real and raw and sharing with you my own journey of finding the real me online, right? Specifically, finding that blend online between professional Tiff and bringing in more of the personal and more parts, like more sides of my personality into my content so that creates a better connection with people. People can see me as a real well-rounded human, not just a coach automaton, and they can connect with me as a person, which then can lead to sales is one side, but also for me on the personal development side, it can help me to show up and do more speaking and just, yeah, be the real me. So much more of this in the episode. With that said, who's ready for some business bravery inspiration? Let's dive in. Hello there, everybody. I am super excited to record this podcast episode. I had a whole different episode planned, but what I'm talking about today, it's just been bubbling up recently in the last few weeks and definitely more so in the last couple of days. And I wanted to record this while I'm in this zone of energy, okay? So the title of this is going to be something along the lines of Bravery in Progress, Finding the Real Me. And today's episode is, I hope, going to be an inspirational one. If nothing else, it's just going to be sharing a little bit of the behind the scenes of this whole bravery journey. And oh, that sounds so cliched, but you get where I'm coming from. And it's sharing the behind the scenes and just because I think I'm on the edge of an evolution in terms of how I'm going to be showing up online. Now, I will talk to you a bit more about that in a moment. I guess for those of you wondering, like, what's in this for me? So, this is really going to be for anybody who maybe struggles to show up as their like real selves in business or some version of that, especially, stories, going live, and just sort of balancing a bit more of the professional versus the personal side of things. So, even that, just like if you're having like or interested in pursuing that as your next step of bravery in your business, this will be interesting. In fact, even if that's not your thing, but you have some sort of brave thing that you want to tackle, something like maybe it's just going to be posting or something like that. I'm going to be taking you through my thought process about how I approach wanting to change and wanting to be brave and that kind of thing. You might have heard of the like my bravery framework, and I'm not, I'm that is definitely at the core of this, but I'm not necessarily walking it through and going, step one of the framework says do this, do that. So, but that's that's all what's going in here. So you can definitely like learn from this episode or just be inspired to go and do something brave. I'm going to be walking through kind of like my story of where I'm at and what has been going on in this area about finding the real me and showing up more authentically online, which again sounds cliched, but I'm just working with what I've got here. And then sort of talking about like why I want to change, and then like what the plan is going to be to change, and then what the systems are underneath that to make these kinds of changes happen, right? Because It's so easy for us to say, oh, I want to be more authentic online. And then without sort of, okay, some actual real grounded, real life things of, so what does more authentic look like? What does that mean in this case? And how do we know if we've achieved it and things like that? And I know that's some of the goal setting stuff that I don't always enjoy, but having some sort of system of like, okay, here's what I'm going to be doing in that area. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. So let me tell you about my story when it comes to finding the real me. And, we're not going to go back to the 70s and 80s. Don't worry. We can just, I'm not going to take you back that far. But I want to talk about sort of in the past, I thought of myself as more of an introvert, okay? And then I sort of thought of myself as more of an extroverted introvert. These days, I don't think of myself as either of those labels. I'm just a person, and sometimes I'm a bit quieter, and other times I'm a little bit louder. And I am someone who needs a balance between alone time to recharge, but I also need a certain amount of interaction with people to charge my batteries as well. But I wouldn't say I'm really one side or the other. Okay, so that's sort of where I'm at, me as a person. I guess something else to know is that previously, like I've been running the Business Bravery podcast for since 2023. So we're coming into the third year, and I've managed to get out somewhere in the realm of 30 to 40 episodes or something per year. And yeah, like it has had an impact. When I first started the Business Bravery podcast, my whole business changed up in terms of like embracing bravery as some kind of brand and that kind of thing. And I was like, this is it. It's a values-based brand. I don't have to go and say, I help women 35 to 55 and, some of that stuff. Like we can all connect around this idea of taking the next brave step because brave steps they never stop happening. Even if you have, a 6 or 7 figure business, there's still bravery to be done. It's not like you solve this thing of, hey, I've been brave, now I can be brave anytime. The body has ways of acting and interacting that step in. So I embraced this brand of bravery, and I have to admit, my manifesting generator type personality really loved the sexy side of bravery. The let's do the big leaps and let's not hold back and the mindset and everything and all of that good stuff. However, I pursued it in such a way that it led to me burning out. And I wasn't able to regulate my nervous system. Didn't have enough of those skills. I didn't really know what to look out for and things like that. And I felt when I was in the dips, I felt I had nothing to offer in terms of bravery, right? I like there's this sort of perfectionistic side of bravery should be sexy. It should be leaping tall buildings from a single I've messed up the metaphor, but you know what I mean, right? It should be, I'm doing the big things. This is me. I'm the leader. Come follow me, guys, and all that kind of thing, which is great. But I also need downtime, much like I just explained to you about. I'm someone who I need alone time to recharge, and I need, people time to recharge, and I kind of need a balance of both. And yeah, I found that when I was in that I need alone time, it's just, yeah, I didn't feel authentic to pursue the idea of bravery. So then I would hold back. And so if you can imagine, there's been a bit of this stop start. And then when I'm pulling back, then I'm not connecting with people, I'm not building the community. And, you know, uh, you know, that has an impact on clients and that kind of thing too. So, so, oh, my voice. Okay, so picking up from that stop start energy, that kind of thing. And then so with that, there's also been this whole thing of like the professional version of Tiff versus the personal version of me. And there has been a large amount of separation online, especially when I've been in a lot of that the last the last 12 months. have been me sort of coming back from burnout, rebuilding my business in a different way, like having boundaries, like working less hours. I care for an aging parent with special needs, and so or some special needs, right? So it's a case of just finding this new balance. And I didn't really feel like I was showing up with all of the cool energy of bravery. And it's like finding that balance. So there's also finding that balance between professional Tiff and personal Tiff. And I mean, I'm just thinking about it, like even when I had jobs, I had a professional face and, you don't tell your coworkers how you were, like, oh, the real deep personal stuff or anything like that, right? So it's just trying to find out what that looks like and those boundaries. And then of course there's like some fun advice online that I've come across where it's like, oh, people, your clients don't care about what you had for dinner and that sort of stuff. Plus, I'm just of a generation where I just something happens to me, my first thought, like, I want to be in the moment connecting with people. My first thought, like, I don't enjoy having thoughts of like, oh, this will be great content, or I could post this, or, that kind of thing. Plus, I used to get very into the numbers and how many people liked things, and that would affect me too. So I'd pull back from all of that. So I guess if you can understand, there's been this push-pull, and now there is this moment of, okay, I want to tackle this and try and find a new way forward and try and find my way forward. Right? Okay, so I just want to say on that whole like push-pull, we have some growth and then we have some steps back. All of that's completely normal, and I don't think that anybody can truly have like this nice straight line trajectory of growth and awesomeness in business. I don't think that's how it works. I think, we grow, we try some stuff, the nervous system gets triggered, we pull back, right? That kind of thing. I think, like that's all normal. So we're not gonna make ourselves feel bad about that being our story. But and I say we, I guess I say that to anybody who's thinking about, oh, I want to tackle posting on social media. I want to tackle having a podcast. I want to tackle all of those, like the next brave step, hiring people for my team, any of that kind of stuff that can trigger us into just being like, you know what, that feels hard. Let's just stop and stay where we are. Right. So, like, there's no point sitting here saying, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that. It's like 2020 with hindsight. Like, this is where we're at. And, this is where I'm at. And I'm not going to make myself feel bad about that. Right. So, I guess some other things to be aware of that have built the TIFF personality that you are hearing today is I had, oh, oh, sorry, I'm having to clear my throat. Although you probably won't hear that because I'm pausing and all that sort of stuff. So, so, so something I had in my background was I had a critical parent, right? And yeah, that definitely meant that speaking up was usually met with some sort of criticism. So I learnt that as a child. And then there was definitely some old school beliefs around children should be seen and not heard, some of that sort of stuff, right? That went along with that. Love the old school parenting, right? So there's a lot there in terms of like my blocks and what's coming up and how I'm in this thing and why especially because like the business stuff feels protected in terms of sharing that online to me because it's like, oh, here I am, I'm sharing stuff that can help people, or I'm sharing what I've learned, or, I had a conversation with someone and I want to share this thing. And all of that feels easy because it's separated from me personally. Whereas starting to share more of the personal side of my life and how I think, that feels very raw and vulnerable to me. Even sharing pictures of my food, right? Like, and I've had coaches that just be like, oh, you should share that online. And it's just like, I'm a curvy girl, I have issues, and around, my weight and everything. And I work with health coaches, a number of whom are like, if you're not losing weight, it's your fault and all this stuff. And I have PCOS. There's just like, it's not just a let's post a photo of my food, it's there's just all of this angst that goes on, right? So it's like even some of these things that should be simple feel like they're just up for judgment. And the worst part is like it's not like there's people actually judging me. It's that in my mind, I think of all of the possible judgments before I even post these things. And so that actually holds me back from posting some of this stuff because it's my inner the inner monologue, the inner critic, that kind of stuff that I'm trying to avoid. And in fact, people on the outside aren't even saying that or thinking that. They're probably not even saying or thinking it half the time. So, yeah. The other thing too is part of my personality is I'm really great at just like matching other people's energy, right? So, like clicking with people, picking up on their energy and that kind of stuff. And I find that harder to generate in terms on social media, right? Because it's like you're posting and you're setting the energy and the tone. And for those of us who are that way inclined, like in the human design, like they say you do well at responding, right? I think that's the generators and the manifesting generators have some of that, right? Great at like responding to people. So I have some plans in the system to fix that up, right? So sorry, you wouldn't believe that I've got 5 dot points and maybe 10 words written for this section, and that I've managed to go off on tangents and say so much more. However, there are two more dot points. Right. So one, I'm part of this awesome community online called the Amplify Collective, and that has brought some of this stuff up and it's been helping me to manage things like that whole getting out and showing up as me and some of that sort of stuff while managing my nervous system, right? So that has been awesome and I've got these amazing like meditations and things to help. So that's really been helping. And then the other side of things is tapping into like more of my inner child and just bringing fun back into my business. You guys know that I'm coming back from sort of like burnout and illness and rebuilding my business in a different way and just really trying to find like ways to create some fun because I've been doing like online marketing since 2011. I started out doing social media. I've done everything. I build websites, ads, you name it. I've tackled most of it or outsourced the rest. But in terms, and then I was working in IT before that for the better part, like, oh, for more than a decade. So the IT and the marketing, the communications on IT projects, all that sort of stuff. It's just it's a lot of the same but slightly different but the same. And yeah, I just need to find some ways to bring in some fun because I was reading this book from Ali Abdaal who was talking about ways to make yourself more productive is actually bringing in fun. And it was talking about, actually, this is a really cool story. He was talking about, when you play Monopoly with other people, and there's people have different approaches to the game, right? You've got the people who are super serious and they're like going to read all the rules and they're going to check you on everything and no, 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 that's not in the real rules and yada yada and all that stuff, right? And they're not really fun to play with, right? And ultimately, on the opposite end, you've got people who don't even care. They've been shanghaied in for whatever reason, and they're just like, they throw the dice, but they don't care. They're probably on their phone or something these days, right? And like they're not fun to play with either because they're not invested. The fun people to play with are the people in the middle who neither take it too seriously nor too lightly and who are, like they're in it for the game, but it's not like their whole sense of self isn't dependent on whether or not they win or lose or any of that sort of stuff. And I realized in terms of the game of business, I want to be in that middle group, but I have definitely like my perfectionism and some of that side have made me in the too serious side. And in fact, when you're in that middle group, things come to you easier, it's more fun, and you don't overthink things, and like that's where I want to be. Coaches, if you're feeling frustrated that you're doing all the things but still not signing clients, this is for you. You're a new coach, you know coaching can change lives, and you're ready to sign your first two or more high ticket paying clients already, but it's just not happening. You're posting content, you're showing up, but your inbox is crickets, while your coach friends seem to be signing clients left and right with ease. You're starting to wonder, is it my offer? My niche? Or maybe is it just me? Well, let me tell you, it's not just you. And you don't need another freebie or some vague advice that's not going to work for you. You need a clear, repeatable strategy and support that gets you focused on the right tasks. That's exactly what we do inside the Brave Coach Breakthrough, my 3-month one-on-one coaching program for new coaches who are ready to finally sign their first two or more high-ticket clients. We blend practical marketing foundations with the mindset work that actually gets results, because I know what it's like to think, who am I to be a coach? Can I really charge that much? I don't want to be too salesy. And my clients, they've been there too, and I've helped them move through it. Like my client M, who signed her first 2 clients in 60 days without a big launch. Another client D, who booked her first discovery call within 3 weeks of working with me and signed her first paying client a few weeks later. Or Tracy and Jess, who launched their first group program, signed their first 4 clients, and doubled their investment in me. You can do this too with the right support. We'll build your signature coaching package, clarify your message, the exact words you want to be using, and create a client signing strategy that feels like you, feels like the right fit for your personality. The whole program is designed to double your investment and make sure you have repeatable systems to keep signing clients well into the future. I have 4 spots open at the time of recording, but these will go fast. Book your free strategy call at tiffanyGstudios.com, Tiffany, G for golf, Studios.com, or find me over on Instagram at TiffanyGstudios, exact same spelling, no spaces, no underscores, and DM me the word breakthrough, or just say, hi, I heard you on the podcast. You can be the coach who gets paid to change lives. Let's make it happen. So I think that's kind of a mixture of my story. And I think, like, if you look at, okay, why even change? For me, it's some personal growth that is needed, right? Holding back on this, it's affecting other areas of my business, like my ability to sign clients, but also like I want to go do speaking and stuff. And to do speaking, like I just think that ability to be yourself online just will only increase my ability to be okay at speaking in front of groups of people, like in the real world, on stages, that kind of thing. I want to increase the connection with the community and everything. And anytime I manage to step into like embodying bravery, that always draws people in, right? And I have fun doing it. And so that whole wanting to bring fun back into my business, all of that kind of stuff, right? So the what I want to really focus on is learning to do all of this in a way that my nervous system can handle so that it becomes who I am and it doesn't trigger meltdowns or the freeze mode, fight, flight, freeze mode. And there's also fawn, but fight, flight, freeze are the kind of the biggest ones in this sort of situation that come up for me. And like I said before, I'm great at responding to people and matching energy. I'm not as good at setting the tone and establishing energy. And so that could be a fun area to just grow in from a personal perspective. So they say owning your own business, there's nothing that will put you on the path of self-development faster than owning your own business, right? And having to face these things. So my plan for changing this up, right? So I have 3 very simple dot points. The plan is to showcase other areas of my personality. Okay. I want to shift in like my mindset. So instead of my kind of base level mindset, especially about posting the personal stuff, is like people won't care, people find it boring. I want to shift that into like it's possible people will love me, right? Sort of stepping into the realm of possibilities and just being like, hey, what if I just showed up to this thing and expected the best possible outcome, right? And that is that people would love me. And I know if you're posting content, you're going to have, in order to get people who love you, you got to get people who hate you, right? You need to be polarizing in some way rather than just in the nice safe middle, right? The problem with the nice safe middle is that people never really liked me for me. They liked me as a reflection of them. And so that was, to me, for a long time, that was safe. But that's what I want to step out of, right? I don't want to just be safe. I want to actually find people who like connect with me and love me for me being me. Okay. And I have done this in the past, right? I have a husband of more than 20 years. I mean, we've been together more than 20 years. We've been married for more than 10. And like, I found somebody who sees the weird side, the silly side, the fun side, and brings out all of these cool sides of me. And like so I found one, I can find more, right? The same thing that we talk about with clients, right? You found somebody to pay you, now we can find more, right? Like we've got one. So, and the other shift of like, okay, it's possible that people will enjoy these posts versus finding them boring. And I think it'll be interesting. I think there's going to be some sort of mindset shift that I will discover in amongst this as I'm doing it. And I will share more of this on Instagram and also, in probably an updated podcast episode, right? So, because I think there's going to be some sort of shift because sometimes like I record things to post and then I don't post them. And like sometimes it's just, oh, I don't have time for that right now. It's going to take too long. And, like I'll do that later. Or, there can be things for the person that's like, they don't really care. It's like, that won't be that interesting. But actually, it's those personal posts on social, especially on stories, that people interact with. And those are the ones that start conversations, right? And build relationships. So it's really important part of the why that I'm doing this, as well as the personal growth and development too, right? There's a marketing reason and a personal growth reason. We've got all the reasons. Okay, so the system, right? So we have a plan. Now I'm going to break this down into the system, right? So the first step is every day, like in terms of like, setting my priorities, there's going to be something that will be my fun, brave adventure. And I've written every day, but I, I think to start with, we're going to aim for 3 to 5 days a week, right? So I've talked about this before when it comes to consistency and things like that. It's so easy for us to be all or nothing and go, I'm going to do this every day. And then, you're super excited in the beginning. And then like day three, something comes up, right? The universe always tests you with these types of things where I like to have this kind of flexible approach of like, okay, let's aim for 3 to 5 days. Okay, so that way on weeks that I'm having more chronic pain, 3 days is enough, right? In fact, even one or two can still be celebrated, right? We've made some progress. And then on weeks where I have more energy and things are going well, then 5 days or more is great. But I'm aiming for that 3 to 5. And I do the same thing for my workouts. And it really helps me to, usually land on 4 and feel good. But if I don't get all of them, like it's just it's a healthier way to be because, things come up and I think looking at consistency differently that way just really helps to keep with the momentum and the motivation to keep moving forward because going from nothing, 0 to 100 overnight. It's like, hey, haven't done this thing before, but now I'm going to start doing it every day. That's a behavior change, and real behavior change, you're looking at like 3 months to really solidify certain behaviors in. Okay. So that's why I have that approach. Okay, so step 2 of my system is I'm going to mindset and visualize most mornings. Okay, again, I think we're just going to keep focusing on this 3 to 5 days a week. It's a great place to start. Okay, so what I mean by that is what I notice is if I don't keep my mindset strong, so really make sure that I'm stepping into the version of me who believes that success is possible, right? I've talked on here before about like my fear of success has been holding me back for the longest time, right? Not being able to handle what success brings me, being sure that I'm going to let people down, especially clients and things like that, that I'm going to lose it all, so why try? All of this sort of stuff, right? What I have realized is that we have choices about how we see the world, right? So there's also the reticular activation system that helps bring the evidence for it. So if I start my day in the morning with finding evidence of like my success and why the success is possible and how I'm already feeling that success now, like bringing in the manifestation side, and just visualizing me doing my brave adventure for the day, right? The brain doesn't know, or the body and the brain don't know the difference between a visualization and something actually having happened. So if I visualize it, right, that it's already happened, then the brain and the body doesn't have to fear it, and the subconscious can just stop trying to block it and stop trying to sabotage us, okay? So I've realized that this stuff is so important. And I know I've said it before, but it's just sometimes like I can be doing so well that I'm like, "Oh, I don't need to do that. I'm, functioning well and I'm on autopilot." And then slowly the little negative whispers creep back in. It's it's getting less and less and it's affecting me less, but I'm doing that. And I think also I haven't written it here, but probably need to bring back in like my nighttime journaling thing of just, my writing three things that I'm grateful for. And I have kind of a like trying to build up more self-love, right? So rather than as opposed to self-hatred, which seemed to be my go-to for most of my life. So trying to just build that up and having like a little journaling thing where I sort of like write to myself and it's like, I love you and just give myself the love that, you know, that you can end up seeking from other people, things like that, right? So just keeping that strong morning and evening, 10 minutes either side doesn't have to be huge, right? My perfectionist brain always wants to be like, and I enjoy these things once I do it. So I get a bit scared to start because it's like 10 minutes can often lead to an hour. Like, even if I set a timer, I turn the timer off and I'm like, I'm enjoying this, I'm going to keep doing it. And then, it's like, oh, I don't get enough sleep and things like that. The same with doing like Instagram stories. Like, I don't mind doing them a lot of the time. It's, or even like being in the DMs and chatting to people. It's just that, 20 minutes leads to 2 hours in a blink of an eye. So yeah. Some more things to work on. Okay, so step one was my fun, brave adventure every day, right? My step two, mindset, or actually I said every day, 3 to 5 days. Mindset and visualization, 3 to 5 days. Now, step three is I'm going to share something personal, right, on my stories or live 3 to 5 days a week, right? And that includes sharing what I'm feeling. So even if I'm in a down dip, I'm going to be brave and share that, which sounds so scary. Like, my muscles in my shoulders and my arms tightened as I said that. I just just closed my eyes. The idea of sharing when I'm having like a down day or something like that. Oh man. The I was talking in the Amplify Collective to Amanda who runs it, and I was sharing with her about how like sometimes I don't want to share when I'm doing bad because like I'm someone like sometimes I can bounce back so fast. So like 2 hours later, I'm like on top of the like I shift my mindset or something comes up and I just, and I just always wonder, it's like, oh, people might think that I'm crazy, but you know what? Just I'm gonna be a little bit crazy, right? I found some awesome people to follow who are just themselves and I just completely drawn into who they are. And, like one of them, she helps health coaches and so I'm not even her ideal client, but you know what? I'm following and I'm going to be watching all of her stuff as inspiration. And that leads me into the next point of the system is I need to watch other people who inspire me in this area 3 to 5 days a week, right? Or even just before I post. Okay, so okay, so I just feel that this watching other people it's going to help with that whole I'm great at responding and matching other people's energy. And I just think that that will be a great way to do that. So oftentimes I've shied away from that in the past because it's like I didn't want to get, caught up in the feed and then not have enough time to post, right? So it's like, oh, post first, then do that stuff later or something. And I just think that that needs to be part of the process, okay? My interacting with people and like at least on DMs is really strong now. And I can do a bit more with interacting on other people's posts, but I just think watching the people who inspire me in this area, and yeah, like I think that'll really help. And I'm hoping that this person who I found, who's my new inspiration, I'm really hoping that she will become a guest on this podcast so that, yeah, I can share her amazingness. And we have a ton of amazing people on this podcast who have inspired me in this arena as well. So I can definitely watch some of their stuff too. So, just to quickly recap, right? So I told you kind of my story about how I've been holding back and that block between professional versus personal, right? And how I want to change that up, because one, it's personal growth that I need to do. It has been definitely affecting my ability to sign clients on the one side, but also to to do more brave things, right? Like I think once this becomes part of who I am and part of my like identity, right? And that's how change sticks, that identity shift, right? Then it's just going to be easier to do the things that I want to do and just feel like, especially that whole tapping into, let's work from an assumption that success will be the outcome, right? And what do you do differently if success is the outcome, right? So, yeah. And learning to do this in a way where my nervous system can handle it. That's going to be the fun part, although I've been really good with that lately, but then I guess I haven't really been showing up as strongly online and doing some of these things that make my nervous system go. In the Amplify Collective, we had this cool thing where it was like, we have like speaking practice where we show up and we get something to speak on we don't know in advance and we get a few minutes to prepare and that kind of thing. But it was really interesting. We did some breathing beforehand, right? Which I now realize I should have done before I recorded this podcast. Just was so excited to talk about. And we did kind of this self-assessment about like where our nervous system was at, what number like beforehand and things like that. And yeah, it was very like even though this stuff doesn't stress me out logically, my body gets a bit stressed. And it's like, I was like a 7 out of 10 in terms of stress level and some of the things that like in terms of like my body or my nervous system feeling activated. And yeah, so anyway, definitely reasons why to change. So I have my plan, right? I want to showcase other areas of my personality, right? Oh, I didn't say this before, but there's like, like I do craft stuff that I can show, my photography passion, I guess working on my health, although that scares me because I just feel like that invites a lot of commentary, but perhaps like that's what I need to do to be me because it's a huge part of what I do, especially managing my chronic pain and things. So, yeah, and then sort of working from that assumption of people will love me and people will love these posts, right? Not all people, that's crazy impossible, but there will be people who will go, yeah, this is for me. So I have my system, okay? So I've broken it down. I have a fun, brave adventure every day, right? And that doesn't have to be the big, sexy stuff either, okay? Mindset and visualizations in the mornings and the evenings. I'm going to share something personal 3 to 5 days a week, right? And share what I'm feeling, right? That's something that's trackable, right? And I'm going to watch other people who inspire me in this area 3 to 5 days a week, right? Or maybe just before posting or something to help, psych me up. Maybe there's even some music I could listen to psych me up before I post or something so I get into that energy. Okay, so if this episode has inspired you to do something brave, you're going to tackle your own brave adventure, or you want to do what I'm doing, which is showcase more of the personal with the professional. Like I said, in terms of Instagram stories, it's the personal stuff that gets the conversation started and that builds the relationships. So, because people don't have to worry about you potentially selling to them if they comment on your stuff, right? So yeah, if you want to join me in this, please reach out. Come find me over on Instagram at Tiffany G Studios, TIFFANY, G for golf, STUDIOS. No spaces, no underscores, none of that stuff. Okay. So come and find me over there, like send me a message and let me know what your adventure is. I'm happy to help support and share your stuff. You can like tag me on your stories or anything like that too. I'd be more than happy to know that this helped somebody else to be brave, right? If you want some help with this in terms of coaching, you can book a bravery booster call with me, right? It's a 60-minute call. At the time of recording this, it's $197 for the 60 minutes. And sorry, I'm just taking it. I was like, is it 60? Is it 90? Okay. So maybe it's 75. 60 minutes, right? We'll work on that basis. If you look and find that it's longer, that's awesome. Right. So, and we can go through and break down some of this stuff and help you come up with your own plan or your own system, help you bust through some of these blocks, help with that perspective shift and things like that. People who I've helped in the past, I had an introvert who did one of these things and we shifted her perspective on networking. And 2 months later, she was on stages speaking and doing all of this stuff that she hadn't thought she would ever do. And while I know I wasn't the only piece of that puzzle, I know that that call was an important piece of that puzzle. Like suddenly she could see possibilities, right? We shifted her thoughts around, like when she couldn't connect with people and it was like, oh, it's my fault. And it's like, oh, what if it's not your fault? What if, you connect with some people and you don't connect with others? And just that perspective shift, I think it really helped her move along and just move her business along in a huge way. And for those of you who want help signing your first 2 or more paying clients, there's of course the Brave Coach Breakthrough, and that's 3 months dedicated to busting through blocks like this and blocks around like money and how can I be charging and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, thank you so much for listening, and yeah, that's it from me. Bye for now. If you're a new coach who's ready to finally sign your first 2 high-ticket clients, but you're stuck wondering what you're missing, then the Brave Coach Breakthrough is for you. It's my 3-month one-on-one coaching program where we blend strategy and mindset to help you confidently sign clients without feeling salesy. Spots are limited. Book your free strategy call now to see if this is the right fit for you. Come over to tiffanygstudios.com, TIFFANY G for golf, STUDIOS.com, or find me over on Instagram at Tiffany G Studios and DM me the word breakthrough to get a link to book your call. Let's get you paid to coach and change lives. Thanks for listening to the Business Bravery Podcast. Has this episode inspired you to do something brave? Even if it's only send a difficult email, please share it with me on Instagram or other social media channels. Feel free to tag me at Tiffany G Studios. That's TIFFANY G for golf, STUDIOS, no spaces, no underscores, etc. Or you can use the hashtag Business Bravery Podcast so that I can cheer you on and together we can inspire other coaches and course creators to do brave things in their business and life. Now, I'm Tiffany and I'll leave you with this one last thing. What's one brave thing you're going to do today? It doesn't have to be big. Even the smallest steps can create the most massive results. So again, feel free to share it with me either publicly or privately so that I can cheer you on. That's it from me. Until next time, bye for now.